Hey folks, good morning and welcome to another episode of Steelers Morning Rush. I'm Alan Saunders. It's Monday, August 4th. Today, the Pittsburgh Steelers are off, which means I'm back at home from training camp in Latrobe. Going to talk today about someone who I think is probably the player that I've been asked the most about over the first 2 weeks of training camp by fans wanting to know how he looks, very excited about his potential, and that is wide receiver Roc Taylor, undrafted free agent out of Memphis. Roc is a player that as soon as the Steelers UDFAs came out, I kind of circled as someone that might be interesting, someone that we might be needing to watch. So I certainly understand the enthusiasm and the want of the fan base for some updates on him. So I'll just kind of give it to you as straight as I can give it to you. I thought he looked pretty rough in the spring throughout minicamp and OTAs. Had a minor injury that didn't help. That's not really unexpected for rookies of all pedigree. I think I've said a number of times on here, I thought Joey Porter didn't look very good his rookie year, ended up having a fine rookie season. Doesn't necessarily mean anything, but I think in my eyes, it took a little bit of shine off Taylor in terms of someone that I thought like maybe could make this roster. Going into training camp, probably had him, maybe 8th on the depth chart at wide receiver, something like that. And that is where he has not ever lined up with anything other than the third team throughout training camp with Roman Wilson, DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin, Robert Woods, Ben Skoranek, Scotty Beller, all very clearly ahead of him. And then Taylor kind of in a rotation with Brandon Johnson, Keyshawn Williams, Lance McCutcheon, Montavious Lamonius Craig before his injury. They're on the third team. So basically all third team reps here from what we're talking about. Even on days where like DK Metcalf has gotten a day off or Calvin Austin has been injured, I still haven't seen a ton of Roc Taylor with the twos, maybe a little bit, but it's been mostly like third team reps. So take that in mind. I thought at the start of training camp, very similar to OTAs. He was there. He's still big. He still looks like he could be a player, but he wasn't really making an impact in the way that I thought he might when they first signed him. But I'll say over the last week of training camp, he's really come a long way. He started to look a little bit more comfortable out there. I think we've identified some things he's good at, and that is he's big and he's not quick to accelerate, but he does have some decent long speed. I think that combination puts some stress on some cornerbacks when he starts going in a deep direction. They really have to respect it. And so when I look through my notebook at the completions to Roc Taylor, almost all of them are deep digs or comebacks, things of that nature, where it looks like it's a go and then it's not, right? And I think you've seen the Steelers' increased emphasis over the middle of the field really evident there, because last year a player that looked like Roc Taylor I think would have just got nothing but go balls. And now this year he's not getting any of those. He's just getting the deep digs, the deep ends, and the comebacks, the hooks, those kind of things. And so I think there's something to work there with. I think there's an NFL player emerging for Roc Taylor. The question I have is, can he make this roster this training camp? And I think it's going to be pretty tough. Obviously, DK Metcalf is far and away the number one wide receiver, and just as obviously, Calvin Austin is far and away their number 2 wide receiver. Neither of those jobs could plausibly be remotely challenged. The third wide receiver job has been Roman Wilson's. In fact, Wilson and Austin have probably played pretty much equal reps, but I mean, Austin has just been so much better. Wilson was a high draft pick. He's someone they honestly need to work out. They're going to do everything they can to get Roman Wilson opportunities. So whether he deserves them or not, I think he's been okay, but not someone who looks like he's on the precipice of being a difference maker or something like that. But someone I'm excited to see more of for sure. Robert Woods to me has looked pretty rough at times. I don't think he's a lock to make the team, as some people assumed, when you sign a veteran player. But I'm not sure there's anybody that's been so much better than him that's going to knock him straight off the roster. Ben Skoranek has a 2-year contract, and I think unless he just looks awful out there, which he hasn't, that is pretty much a guaranteed roster spot. His special teams role, sort of predetermines that probably more than anything else. I think he's an absolute lock for the roster almost no matter what, unless he's just looks awful out there, which he hasn't. He's looked fine. Scotty Miller has been the best Steelers wide receiver at training camp compared to expectations by far. He's probably been the third best wide receiver overall after Metcalf and Austin. I think he's really in danger of making the team. Miller has been way better than Roc Taylor, way better than everyone. Like I said, better than Roman Wilson even. And he's been doing it against largely better competition, playing mostly on the second team and include a couple reps here and there with the ones. I think Brandon Johnson and Roc Taylor both do a lot of the same things. They kind of look similar on the field. And I think that's an interesting competition because I don't think there's any reason for a team to want to have both of them. They're very similar pieces. And if you think about the makeup of a potential practice squad, that I expect to have Max Hurleman on it, who can be a slot receiver in addition to a running back. Keyshawn Williams, I think, has looked very good and probably deserving of one of those. I think there's probably one more spot. And so I think Roc Taylor can make a practice squad. I think there is something there to work with. I would be very surprised at this point and probably would require multiple injuries for me to think he's going to make the team. I'm doing later today 53-man projection for SteelersNow.com, but I will tell you he will not be on it. I may do the practice squad this time. I didn't last time. Maybe I'll do the practice squad, and then we'll see. I think he probably will be on the practice squad. There is just something about his game that intrigues me, and I think there is, like I said, I think there is an NFL player in there. I'm just not sure that it's coming out right now. I just have, especially with as well as Scotty Miller's played, I have a hard time seeing they're going to keep 6 receivers and maybe Taylor beats out Robert Woods to be the 6th. I mean, I guess that's the path, but I'm not sure I see it. Not right now anyway. But preseason games, as Mike Tomlin always likes to say, will play a big role in that. Of course, we got one of those coming up this Saturday in Jacksonville. Excited for that trip, so stay tuned. And that's it for this morning. We got the full no practice stuff today. We got the full normal Monday. Me and Smitty on Afternoon Drive coming up a little bit later. So make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications here on the YouTube channel. And until next time, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and enjoy.